You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Well, here we are again.
Look who's back. Back again. Skye
Yes, he's
is back.
Back again.
Tell your mates.
Shady's back. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend about stupid bitches. Say what? Uh, uh, uh. Na na na.
Do you know what part of my How's Your Week Been was about our dedication? Because I was already talking about being up at 4:30 this morning
Yes.
and how much effort goes into this beautiful production of media
Yes.
cinematography.
Ensembles. But anyway, where are we? What are we doing?
We have digressed slightly. So, welcome, listeners. If we did not already welcome you into the fold.
Skye takes her microphone.
Like my cat.
It was getting a bit fucking lippy, wasn't it? You just had to backhand it.
Yeah, totes. I was screeching into it.
No, I meant with your hand.
Oh yeah, that's it. No, that's what I mean. I was screeching into it to slap it
Oh
back.
yes,
Making me sound too loud. Slap it away from me. But welcome, listeners, to episode 2 of season 9.
Also known as Stupid Bitches Say What, episode 97.
Almost 100.
I know.
Just like Beano.
You dumb bitch. It's true. So this is Stupid Bitches Say What,
In
the Aussie
action.
podcast.
About everything and nothing, but always with wine. And your hosts.
Well, there's one stupid bitch looking right into my face, and her name is Skye Collett.
Adoringly looking into your face.
Swoon.
And there's also another stupid bitch just looking at me, waiting for me to say his name, and that's Sean Bino Hipkins. Please.
Thank you. I thought you'd never say it. You'd never spit it out. Okta.
I'm already nearly done with my first beer.
For this episode, she meant.
Stupid bitch.
So what are we doing tonight?
Oh, of course. We're doing pop culture, which actually I got totally railed into doing another crime episode.
Your choice. You got railed into nothing. You railed yourself into making a decision about your topic.
On the fly.
On the fly.
In a moment of panic. So, stupid bitch, what, pray tell, are you drinking this evening? Please.
So I am still finishing just off this little glass of Mudhouse from the first season.
Scarlet.
Oh, fuck
you
yeah.
can't do the same wine. Everybody knows that.
Hello,
you're disappointing
what are you
our
drinking?
listeners.
Get the same beer.
Yeah, but I don't have the tolerance that you do. I'm like a little tiny weakling drinker that can't drink much.
Oh, scold. So the first bottle I paid $20 for, dear listeners, which to me is extravagant. And that was a Mudhouse. So the second one, I've done the nice one.
Because I only pay $11 for my Mudhouse.
Well, you'd be pleased to know I only paid $10 for this bad boy.
Oh, that's yuck. That's
it's
not
a
a
Lindeman's
nice
Pinot
one.
Gris.
$10.
You know when
you also got ripped off because I've seen that for $6. No, my wines, you stupid bitch. Trust me.
Not
my fancy stuff, by all means. I know my cheap shit.
Well, to be fair, the cheap shit tastes like the fancy stuff after you've had a bottle of the fancy stuff.
Absolutely.
Probably not, but we'll go with it. So let me try this bin 85
$6
Pinot Grigio of Lindeman's. Actually, not bad. A bit watery, but it's probably good. Good for me at this moment. And what about you? Pray tell.
Low alcohol? Are you drinking low alcohol like a puss?
Please. There's 7.1 standard drinks in this bad boy. I'm fine.
Do you know what was funny? We talked about this in the last episode. My husband had surgery this week, double episode, yada yada yada. But on the list of things in his low fiber diet that he could eat leading up to the time when he started fasting was wine. White wine.
He could eat that.
I was like, done.
It's delicious. Yeah.
I could drink my way through this low fiber diet.
Babe, I'm doing this journey with you. Okay. No, I want to be here to support you. I won't hear
Get
it.
me all the Mud House Savvy B.
Six-pack of Mud House. Stat, $11 a bottle in a six-pack. I've got you, babe. I'm not to stand behind you, just beside you. I'm here to carry you with this. And what are you drinking? Oh, beer. Two is extra dry.
Just a little Ted, but I'm on to my fifth beer.
This is your fifth?
Evening. Yeah.
Well,
I told you, 12 beers by the time we're done.
How many standard drinks in a Stubbs?
What is it, 1.2?
I don't know, tell me. 1.4?
It's hard to say. It's 4.3, 1.2.
Well done.
No, my beers.
So there's 6 standard drinks and 5 beers then. And I got 7.1 in this $10 knockoff. So right, you tell me who's the fool.
So in the Mud House, how many standard drinks were there?
7.7.
Okay, so you are ahead of me. And now you're about to embark on another 7.
Another journey. I mean, I am a larger figured gal than you. So I could probably take a bit more of a hit.
Look, I've also come from the big boned family.
And we're seasoned professionals when
I can
it comes
afford
to
double dose.
We need to. Otherwise, it does nothing. You're welcome, dear listeners.
And how has your week been, you stupid bitch?
My week has been good.
Mess.
Always good. But I've always got some fun things to say. I have a TV show I'd like to review.
Of course. But listeners, I will just actually say, we should have said this before, but we haven't really hung out for a little while. Because normally we have Friday nights where we hang out constantly and get super drunk and then end up drinking until 3 a.m. watching YouTube videos and speaking absolute garbage into each other's faces.
Singing like angels.
But we've hung out during the break, but it's always been in massive social settings. Yes. So it's just been, and we've both been very busy outside of those social settings.
So this has been a nice little one-on-ones again.
Yeah, it has.
Cheers, you stupid bitch.
Cheers, you dumb bitch.
Ching, ching. So the show I want to refer to is called Phantasmus, which is on Foxtel.
Okay.
At the moment.
Sounds Phantasmus.
Well, it's definitely not up Vinny's street, but it's right up mine. So it's an American surrealist comedy television series created, directed, and written by Julio Torres, who also stars in it. It follows Torres on the search for a golden oyster earring and the people he encounters on the way.
You watch some weird shit, man.
I know.
You really do.
It is stupid, but stupid funny, and it's fucking hilarious. He has this assistant in it that's called Vanessa with a J, who is also fucking hilarious, and she makes sure you pronounce it. It's not Vanessa, it's Vanessa. She's a method actor, and she's currently acting as his agent and his assistant in the thing, even though it's just his friend, but she's a method actor. Even though he's not an actor, she's just acting as his agent. So she keeps getting him these acting jobs and shit like that. And then there's side stories in each episode. So, like Family Guy, well, they'll be like, that reminds me of this one time, this rubber chicken fucked a pig. And then it'll go over to a side show of that type of thing. There's segments like that in each episode that then go for 10 minutes that have absolutely nothing to do with the story. We're just like going, the fuck, man, this is so dumb. I love it.
Oh dear, I'm lost already.
It has some good guest stars acting in it. So in each episode, there's Steve Buscemi's in one, Julia Fox is in another. Other faces you'd know. Emma Stone's involved in the production of it. Not sure if it's your thing.
No.
But it's right up my street. with the quirkiness and randomness, and it's a vibe like Pushing Daisies. Remember that show I've been
Yes,
telling you
that
about?
you've loved, and I haven't watched, but I want to watch it. But it's
It's
on the
got that whole
list.
sort of weirdly magical, cartoony type sort of vibe to it. Totes recommend to anyone who likes that kind of thing. If not, bypass it. The other thing I want to talk about is apartment living. So
Oh, interesting.
we've been here
Interesting.
for 8 years now,
Shit, has it been
and 8
8 years?
years. And we got given a notice at because when you live in an apartment, the external facing area of the building and all that shit is not part of your property. It's part of the apartments complex. So
Hmm.
you can't do shit to it without getting approval and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they also just decided this year they were going to do a very first ever exterior and balcony clean
Are they
of
going
the
to charge you?
apartments. No, it comes out of the body corp.
Oh,
But what we had to do was bring everything in off the balcony inside and keep the balcony completely bare while these guys went down abseiled down our fucking apartments, cleaned it, then jump on your balcony, pressure hose your windows, pressure hose hose the walls and the balcony floor and shit. Sounds great. But when you've got the outside inside for 5 days because the person who manages your property is a complete fucktard, it's very, very constricted living. So we've got all our plants, our tables, our bookcases, our barbecue,
you have
everything
so much
inside.
stuff on that veranda.
It's part of our living space.
Yeah.
So we had to bring that in for fucking 5 days, dodge that shit. The cats loved it.
I
That
would have been like,
sucked.
skip us.
Yeah, totally. But when they do it too, they decided that they weren't going to put the detergent in the pressure hose thing. They were just pressure hosing it. So when they were done with it, our windows were completely speckled with fucking water and fucking dirt and shit like that. So we still had to go out and clean the windows. It was fucking annoying. The other thing I want to talk about is Facebook wars with apartment living. So we have a Facebook group for the apartment that we live in, and someone had
Yuck.
Vinny had gone for a walk one morning or a run one morning, and he'd come back in and he was bustling with his endorphins and all this shit, and everything's great, and he knows what's perfect. Walks in, someone had left all this blankets and shit like that in the foyer area, free to a good home. And he's
Downstairs, like
like,
when you first walk in.
when you first walk in, and he's like, what the fuck? This took a photo of it, posted in our social group. What the fuck is this? This looks like a fucking it's not a St. Vinny's, whatever. You're making this
Someone's
place
too lazy to go to the
look like a
tib
trash.
or actually go and chuck it in like a Goodwill bin.
You're making
Yeah.
it look like trash. He came in, he had his little spit to me about it while I was making breakfast. He's like, get on there and like my comment. I'm like, no, bitch. You're on your own here. You don't know if they've had anything teed up, if they just left it there for 5 minutes, whatever. So next thing, this chick in our apartment started fucking commenting these rude things to Vinny about it. Like, maybe you could just take it down to the homeless people and donate it if it bothers you that much. Rah, 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 rah. And so
Why don't you take it down and donate it, you dumb bitch?
as soon as someone started coming for Vinny, of course, then I'm getting involved. I'm loving his comment, loving his post, replying to her. Then I came home that day and someone else had left some other shit down there. I took a photo of it and I replied to her and said, looks like the trend's catching on. Naomi, her name was. Looks like the trend's catching on, Naomi. Why don't you, seeing as you're so generous, how about you take it all down to somebody in the park and rah, 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 rah. And she's like, I would if I could, but I'm in Adelaide at the moment for work. I'm sure it won't take that much for you to do it. And I'm like, I think you're missing the point here. It's not for me to clean up someone else's mess. It's for the person who's dumped their shit there to take responsibility for it. And she turned around and she goes, that's just really sad that you can't find 5 minutes in your day to go and donate this thing. And I just laughed at it and I was like, okay, you dumb bitch. You're missing the fucking point. It's not my responsibility. It's not my shit. Rah, rah, rah. Then Vinny saw what she said to me. Vinny went underneath her. How dare you, Naomi? You don't even know Sean. You don't know what he's about. Rah, 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 rah. And then deleted the post. We are yet to see Naomi in the flesh, but I cannot wait to see her and have the most awkward smile. Hi, how you been? And walk past her in the hallway.
But this is why you pay for a body corporate, right? Because they're supposed to go into the foyer and go, someone's left their shit here. we're going to get rid of it and we're going to
out.
find out who did it from the CCTV. And we're going to be like, hey, you can't leave shit in the foyer. This is a respectable place.
It's
You're just
our
dumping your
entryway.
shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
Clearly
be
Naomi
prepared.
dumped it.
No, Naomi was in Adelaide at the time, but Vinny came back and then someone
Bullshit.
had. I know that's what I thought too. And I was like, you dumb bitch. What do you mean? Why are you making it my responsibility to fucking donate this shit that fucking I didn't even do? Anyway, if you were going to move into apartment, people, be prepared to fight.
Mm.
How's your week been?
I used to have massive fights when I lived in a fucking unit complex. They hated me.
Were you leaving all your shit in the foyer?
No, I was just having too many parties all the time. Remember at my
Oh, yeah.
units? The neighbor next door used to bang on my door like every fucking morning, be like, you guys were so loud last night, please stop. And he was like 80. And I was like, dude.
Is this a townhouse or your
Yeah,
unit?
this is it when I
Oh,
lived at
yeah.
Thornside.
Yeah.
I was like, I own this property.
Yeah, go
I'm
fuck
not
yourself.
a renter. Like, seriously. I have rights too. Call the police if you've got a problem.
Exactly. I'm allowed to live.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway.
Yeah, communal living is the worst.
How's you? Well, actually, we've been pretty good. We've had one noise complaint, and that was fair enough because we had the balcony door open and were scream singing "Hello" by Adele, and the guy below us had a newborn baby.
Oh, fair.
But he was pretty polite. He just knocked on the door and said, "Can you shut up?" And we said, "Yeah, sorry." And then he never looked at us in the eye again when we walked past him. But how about you? How's your week been?
Week's been good. I want to start by saying that I finished reading 4 books this week.
Four books this week.
4 books this week. I
What
finished
were you
reading.
reading 4 at the same time, or you read
No.
them individually?
So I was reading. Actually, I'll show you how thick it is. It's right here. Where did I put it? So hold on one second. Just for like, so you
Un
can see.
momento, por favor.
Tyler just thinks it's insane how quickly I read. So this, can you see how thick this book is? So this book I had about this much to go on Sunday night, or sorry, Monday night, because I was too hungover on Sunday to read. So I read this much on Monday night. And then since then, I've also read The Gathering, Done and Dusted, Invisible Girl, and I'm on to my 5th book.
Go you.
I'm about this much into.
Nice work. Well, you'll be pleased to know.
I don't watch telly during the week anymore. Like, I just read because there's nothing on that I really care about. Like, when I love a show, but I just read. I get home, have dinner, have a shower, have a bath, read in the bath, and then I go to bed.
That would be good. To be able to read in the bath would be nice.
And Tyler will put on, like, he's rewatching Game of Thrones because we just finished.
We've just started that Game of Thrones
as
well.
He really wanted me to do it, but I was like, I've done it. I know it all. I've read the books too.
I have. The good thing about watching it, so we've just only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of it, is even now, after watching House of Dragon and Game of Thrones, I'm already... Yes. This all makes so much more sense.
Look, I have because I normally, so when he's watching telly and I'm reading, I put my earplugs in because I find it too distracting when he's watching a show and I can't concentrate on my book. But there's moments where I can still hear bits and pieces and I look over and I'm like, and then he falls asleep and then I end up still watching it. So I saw, like, when Ned Stark's head gets chopped off and then she has the dragons.
I thought that happened in episode 3, but it doesn't. No, it's like episode 9 or something.
Yeah. But we finished the House of Dragon, which you had been trying to get me to watch for ages, and then we binge watched it in a week, like both seasons, and it was excellent. It's so very, very good. I think I liked it better than Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the dragons, or?
I think the dragons, but I loved her. I loved the main character. That
they're really promoting women in leadership in that thing, and how they've got a completely different... It's not all about violence and war.
Like, I remember messaging you and you were saying, like, it's got so much anxiety associated with it compared to, like, Game of Thrones is like that, where you feel anxious all the time because you know something bad's going to happen. It's definitely like that. Like, you can't pull your eyes away. It's so bang, 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 bang what's happening. But I don't know. I don't know why. I can't really explain why I love it more. I think just more stuff happens. Yeah. And there's just much more likable characters, maybe, I find.
And it's just interesting because we know what happens in Game of Thrones, where Targaryens are no longer in the rule, and now you're seeing it, and they call
seeing
it
the background.
and with the war that's happening at the moment in the history of Game of Thrones, they call it the Dance of Dragons, which I love.
Yeah. But anyway, you're gonna have to cut a lot of this because it's not really relevant. So I have read, just a reminder, 24 books so far this year.
Well done, Jesus.
Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is that I booked going to Bali in November for 10 days.
Yay, congratulations. Is this your first time there?
First time Bali, yes. Been to Thailand. Tyler's also been to Thailand, but both of our first time in Bali.
Talking about Bali, is that your first time in Bali? It is, but I've been to England.
Thailand's similar though, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but Bali's Bali.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to
Cool,
Nusa
how
Dua
exciting.
for 4 nights. Then we go to Gili Tea for 2, and then we're going to Seminyak for 4 nights. We booked a cooking class in Seminyak. We're booking just 1 day trip with the ATV bikes, the tube floating, and then go to that double-decker infinity pool thing that's somewhere in the mountains.
You're doing a lot more than what we did in Seminyak.
That's 2 things that we're doing because Tyler didn't want to book anything.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to chill. Yeah.
But we're there for 10 days, and I was like, I have to do at least 2 things. So cooking class in Seminyak, in Nusa Dua, we're going to do the ATV, the tube floating, and the infinity pool.
Cool. I look forward to hearing all about it.
But I'm super excited to go to Gili Tea. Like, it's going to be a mission to get there and back. But everything I read is like, it's so insane. It's going to be
the mission to get there would be a beautiful mission, like boat rides and shit like that.
Yeah. And it's, going to be lovely. But how many books do you think I should take to Bali? If I could read 5 books in a week, because I said to Tyler, I don't want to lug my suitcase down, but if I'm 10 days just sitting on the beach, just lounging around, if I can read like 5 books in a week, how many when I'm working, like how many do I take?
Yeah. But are you going to be doing things like going out and shop, like going to the shops and going to eat? And
I think so, but I think because I've already forced Tyler to book in 2 types of activities on 2 days, the rest of the time he just wants to be pool, beach, food, nothing else. So I think I'll just be which is totally fine with me.
Buy some books over there.
That's what I was thinking. Did you see bookshops when you're over there?
No, but I'm sure there are. I'm sure there is. All right, let's get into it. You're up first.
Okay. Again, this has taken a lot of effort from me. This is like my most researched notes ever. I hope it's going to be much longer than my last one. Let me say one thing that you'll remember later on. Hashtag Port of fucking Stansbury. Okay.
Port of Stansbury. Okay.
No, hashtag Porter fucking Stansbury.
Okay.
Okay.
Porter fucking Stansbury.
Yeah.
So Porter is in like a hotel porter.
No, a person.
Oh, his name's Porter.
Yes.
Middle name fucking.
So first of all, I want to start by saying that I'm not a massive documentary or true crime buff like some stupid bitches. If a documentary looks super appealing, I may be swayed to watch it, but it's very rare. I think the whole reason I decided to start watching Unsolved Mysteries is because of the novelty of it. It was a really freaky, popular show back when we were kids and has a lot of pop culture references over the years.
Yes.
So I thought I would do a bit of a Unsolved Mysteries blurb before I start my topic. Unsolved Mysteries is a television program that debuted on January 20th, 1987. How old were you, Beano? 25?
10.
It was created by John Cosgrove and Terry Dunn-Muir and originally aired on NBC. Over the years, the show has been broadcast on various networks and has seen numerous revivals, including a recent series on Netflix.
Yes.
I mean, it really was the OG of true crime documentaries, right?
That and America's Most Wanted.
Oh my God, yes, of course. The program is a documentary style series that presents unsolved cases in a format that mixes reenactments, interviews, and archival footage. The cases cover a wide range of topics. I think the reenactments was always the thing that really got me when I was a kid. I was like, whoa. And you didn't really understand what a reenactment was back then in the 80s. You were just like, this is what actually happened to them. You didn't realize that they were actors. You just thought that was the person and what happened.
And the guy who hosted it was the guy who lost his son went missing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes. And then he started this whole big thing in the States, and then they found him and he was murdered, and horribly. It was very awful.
Sad.
So the topics are crime, unsolved murders, missing persons, and cases of unidentified remains. The show often features cold cases that have baffled investigators for years, but they also did paranormal reports of ghosts, UFO sightings, and other supernatural phenomena. These segments delved into stories of haunted locations, alien encounters, and otherworldly experiences. They
Bigfoot and all that, yeah.
Yeah, there was heaps of alien stuff too, I remember back in the day. Lost love, stories of people trying to reunite with long lost family members or friends. These segments often had a sentimental tone and focus on the emotional aspects of the search. I don't really remember a lot of that one.
I don't remember the lost love stuff.
But that was part of it. And then there was historical mysteries, cases involving historical figures or events, such as disappearances, unexplained deaths, and other occurrences from the past. And then there was alternate theories, episodes exploring conspiracy theories, cover-ups, and controversial claims. These segments examined alternate explanations for well-known events and phenomena. Each episode typically features multiple segments, with host narration providing context and transitions between stories. The show's original host, Robert Stack, became an iconic figure associated with unsolved mysteries. Stack's deep voice and serious demeanor added a distinctive layer to the often chilling and mysterious content. After Stack's passing in 2003, other hosts included many, but also Dennis Farina, who took on the role in subsequent revivals. Do you know? Anyway, Unsolved Mysteries has had a significant impact on television and popular culture. The show's format and style have influenced numerous other true crime and documentary series. It was the original documentary series, right?
Yeah.
Before anything else. Like you might have had like a random, like what do you call it when independent documentary style film, like I'm thinking of Grey Gardens and stuff like that, where they managed to get their money together and create a show out of nothing. But it was the original format for these type of unexplained or cold case type stuff back in the day in the 80s. The show's eerie theme music and distinctive visual style have also become iconic. The combination of atmospheric music, dramatic reenactments, and compelling storytelling has made Unsolved Mysteries a memorable and enduring program. In 2020, a reboot of the series premiered on Netflix, featuring a modernized format with longer, more in-depth episodes focusing on single cases per episode. The latest iteration has introduced Unsolved Mysteries to a new generation of viewers and has continued the tradition of engaging the audience in the pursuit of answers.
Pursuit.
So, pursuit of answers. You say pursuit all the time.
No, you say pursue. They pursued him. It's pursued.
I hate you. So when the new show came out in 2020, I was excited to watch it. Now I've watched a few episodes, but not the majority. And I can see that they're about to bring out season 4. Ooh. The very first episode in the first season of the remake is about the death of a man in Baltimore named Rey Rivera. I became obsessed with this story, and as of this moment, his case is still unsolved. There are a lot of twists and turns in this story, so I hope I can do it justice. I do feel like I know the story inside and out.
You have told me about it multiple times.
I've put most of my notes together based on memory, but had to fact check a few times. I probably watched this episode like before we agreed to do it on the podcast. I'd probably seen it maybe 5 or 6 times since it's come out in 2020. Since then, I've rewatched it probably 4 times. in preparation for this episode. I was literally watching it today. As I was finalizing my notes and fact checking everything and making sure I hadn't missed anything. So I strongly suggest if you're going to watch one episode only, make it this one. It's really fucking sad. Also, the music is super freaky. I'm pretty sure I made you watch it one time when we were really drunk.
Yeah.
You talked all the way through it, and then I got cranky when you got bored and switched it off.
But I've watched it since.
Oh, have you? When did you watch it?
Oh, months ago, maybe a year.
Tyler was there, and then because Tyler was like yelling at you to pay attention to. He's like, "This is a really good episode," and you were like, "Taylor Swift."
I knew you were trouble when you walked in.
So the show starts telling the love story of Rey Rivera and his wife Alison and their beautiful wedding in Puerto Rico. The couple were devoted to each other and their immediate family. His brother goes on to quote that their wedding was one of the most happiest times they had had as a family. And you see the wedding scenes play out in genuine family home videos. So whilst I talked about earlier, like the reenactments that used to happen, I think there's a little bit of reenactment for her in terms of her going back to certain things, but there's lots of original footage.
OG shit, yeah.
Because it was super in the media.
Never before seen outside the family home.
Yeah. I forgot about that, totally. That was the 80s version, but yes. So there's lots of her, interviews and stuff, and the family members and friends and the detectives, and they're being interviewed in real time. But some of the older stuff, actually, come to think of it, maybe it is reenacted, because there was sometimes I was like, how is this real? Like, who was filming this at the time? So it probably is reenacted, and I just thought it was real.
They just do it so well.
See how carried away I get? Even I was a kid and I still thought it was real, and now I'm an adult and I still think it's real. That explains so much.
It's just normal for me with you. I'm like, oh yeah, I got it.
But there is genuine family home videos of the wedding and stuff like that. Anyway, so Rey Rivera disappeared on May 16th, 2006.
Oh, Maria's birthday.
I knew you were going to say that. I was about to say Maria's birthday, please. Last seen by a house guest staying at his and Alison's home. So Alison's his wife, Alison Rivera. To this day, his wife maintains there is so much more to this story. I fucking agree. And someone out there knows something. I am literally obsessed with this story. I would love to be a billionaire and be like, I'm going to throw as much money at this case as I possibly can to make sure this is solved. Because I just know something fucked up happened and people out there know exactly what happened and they need to pay for this crime. I think everybody who watches this episode can't help but agree. I hope they find out someday what happened. As hard as it is to lose someone you love, it would be so messed up to lose someone knowing that there is more to it than what people are saying and never being able to get to the bottom of it. Rey Rivera was a 32-year-old writer and aspiring filmmaker. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Rivera seemed normal and was making plans for the future, including children. After Alison and he got married, they lived in California. Rey was trying to make it in the movies as a scriptwriter, but was having limited success. An old college friend, Porter fucking Stansbury, also at their wedding, had been trying to get Rey to work for him at his finance and investment company for years. As Rey's career had yet to take off in California, they decided to move to Baltimore and give it a go at Porter's company. Rey would take on a position writing the financial newsletter for the company. The couple agreed to give it 2 years before they thought about their next move. They were happy in Baltimore, quickly making friends and becoming part of the community. Before Rey's disappearance, Alison noticed that Rey appeared on edge. Not at all like his usual demeanor. Twice the week before he went missing, their burglar alarm was set off. Authorities wrote this off as a malfunction or an animal. But on the first occasion, when they were woken in the middle of the night by the alarm, Alison raced downstairs to find Rey with a baseball bat in his hand, crippled with fear. Her husband was not scared of anything. So they lived in this house alarm never went off, right? And then all of a sudden it went off twice.
So he's scared of it
Something's
seems like
off.
but he's also expecting something.
Mm-hmm. He knows something's going on. He knows there's a
Yeah.
reason why that alarm was tripped, and it happened
Yeah.
twice. On May 16th, 2006, Ray abruptly left their home after taking a phone call. Alison was away on business but had a work colleague staying in the guest room for the evening at their home. Her guest recalls her hearing the phone ring. Ray was working at his computer in the office. The guest says she heard him speaking to someone, then the sound of him pushing off his desk on his chair, then racing down the stairs and out the door in a rush.
Ick.
By this time, Alison had arrived at the hotel she was staying at on business. She had no missed calls from her husband or check-ins. It was after 6 p.m. at this point, and this was unusual behavior for him. She phones him repeatedly, greeted only by his voicemail. She was concerned and called her work colleague at their house. Her colleague explained Ray had left in a hurry earlier. Growing even more concerned, she went to bed, awaking in the morning to speak with her colleague again, who reported that Ray had not come home that night. Alison dropped everything, booking a flight immediately back to Baltimore in a panic. Ray still wasn't answering her calls. She phoned his brother Angel straight away, explaining what had happened. Angel was instantly alarmed. His brother would never stay out all night or not respond to his sister-in-law's calls, his wife's. He also booked the next available flight to Baltimore. Arriving home, Alison was greeted with an empty house.
Reactive means they know something's up.
But you know, when you've been with someone for ages and you have a certain routine, like you must know when you go away on business, like if you're going straight from the airport to a function, Vinny might not expect to hear from you. But surely when you get home from the hotel, or if you're not going out, the first thing you do is say, babe, I've landed. What do you have
First
for
thing
dinner?
we do is, babe,
blah,
we've
blah,
landed.
blah.
I'm here.
Exactly. And
Send
that's
me a
why
picture of
she's
your
like,
room.
she gets there and she can't even get in touch with him. He hasn't even checked in on her. They were like newlyweds.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she called her brother-in-law, he's like, what the fuck? Something's wrong. This is not
And then
him.
he's packed up and gone.
Yeah, he's gone. I'm coming.
Yeah.
So she arrives home, greeted with an empty house. Her colleague had returned home back to New York. So they were business colleagues. She was only staying there for one night instead of paying for a hotel. They would just work together, right? There was no sign of Ray. There was an open soft drink can on the bench, half drunk. All signs in the house matched Alison's colleague's summary of what had occurred. Ray had left the house in a hurry without explanation. Alison began calling everyone they knew as well as the police. Angel, the brother, arrived soon after, and they started searching the streets for signs of Ray or his car. They put up posters. They talked to strangers, desperate for information about Ray. Porter fucking Stansbury put up a reward for $1,000. It's big of him.
And who's Porter again?
So that's his best friend.
Right.
And his boss. So Porter, they were living in California.
Yeah.
He said, come work for me. Move to Baltimore where you don't know anyone.
And
move
Baltimore's
away from Calamar.
the murder capital of fucking America, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know if it's the murder capital, but it's not. I don't think it's the safest place.
No, it's not.
So they moved to Baltimore for Porter, his best mate. His best mate since they were 15. I'll get to that. So he put up a reward for $1,000. A few days after his disappearance, with no leads, Alison's parents were driving through the streets in the Mount Vernon neighborhood, behind the offices of Stansbury and Associates. So Stansbury and Associates are Porter's company that employed Ray. Porter fucking Stansbury. There's an internet page, an Instagram that's dedicated to Porter fucking Stansbury.
Shut up.
His profile's private, by the way. I've tried to get in there.
He didn't accept.
No. Still waiting, please. So Alison's parents were driving through the streets in the neighborhood that was near the offices where he worked. They were checking parking lots and garages for any sign of Ray's car. At this point, Ray had been missing for 6 days. So she came back the day. So She arrives at a hotel. He ran out of the house at 6. She wakes up in the morning, hasn't heard from him, plane back. So it's been 24 hours by the time she gets back. The brother's back. So 6 days later of them searching everything, turning over every stone, talking to every person, walking the streets with posters asking if anyone had seen him.
Horrible sensation.
Her parents are driving around just trying to find the car because the car's missing. So he's been gone for 6 days. His phone was dead or switched off, and there had been no activity on their credit cards, no withdrawals from their bank account, nothing, no contact for 6 days. As they were driving, Alison's mother pointed out a car to Alison's father, stating that was Rey's car. Her husband, Alison's dad, disagreed at first, but she insisted they pull over as she was certain it belonged to her son-in-law. She called her daughter with news that they had located Rey's car. It was a 10-minute drive from their house. So he runs out at 6 p.m. His car's located 10 minutes from their house. Alison wandered around the car park, baffled as to why Rey would have been there. Whilst it was in the neighborhood of his workplace, it was not actually near where he was employed. It was, however, the first piece of evidence in the disappearance in 6 days. Work colleagues, are you remembering any of this if you watched it recently?
Yeah. Like, not this part. I remember, I haven't watched it recently. I watched it probably a year and a half ago or something. But I remember...
On your phone the whole time scrolling?
I remember some of the unsolved shit or the kooky shit when you're going to get to it. I don't remember this stuff. No.
Oh, yeah. So it's the first piece of evidence in 6 days. So they had nothing up until this point till they found the car. So work colleagues of Rey's joined forces and started searching the streets and the area surrounding in large groups, looking for anything to link the car to Rey's whereabouts. The parking lot where Rey's car was found was next to the Belvedere Hotel, an old hotel well known in Baltimore, but now a condominium. Investigators swept the car and found no evidence of foul play or pointing anywhere to where he may be, or that the car may have been stolen. 2 days into the search by Rey's friends and workmates, they were on top of a parking garage next to the Belvedere Hotel. They look over the edge and they spotted flip-flops or thongs, as we would call them in Australia, on the lower roof of the Belvedere Hotel. So think of this huge, massive structure. And then there's like this little part of it on the side that's like sort of like an annex part, but it's part of the hotel. The only way to see this hole, so they saw this small hole, right?
There's a hole near the flip-flops were next to it.
Yes, there was flip-flops and there was this tiny hole. The only way to see the hole was to be on top of the parking structure or the top of the hotel, a small black spot that hardly looked like a hole. Rey's workmates called the police. Police arrived at the Belvedere, approaching the hotel manager, requesting information of what was underneath the hole in the roof. It was an old storage room that held sports equipment and bits and pieces. The manager took them to the storage area, unlocking the door for the police, and was immediately greeted by the smell of decay. The wall was covered in blood, and a body was visible under a small hole in the ceiling, peering up into the sky.
And what was the distance from the hole to the floor? Just a roof to the...
a normal roof.
So from where your roof is now to the floor,
maybe a little bit higher because it was like a convention center type,
but not enough to jump through and kill yourself with.
100%. The roof was metal, a full metal structure. Imagine the force that someone must have been going at to propel through a metal roof, right?
And not fucking splat on top of it.
Exactly. To go through a hole and end up in that room.
Yeah.
Later that day, Angel, Rey's brother, and Alison were called down to the Baltimore police and provided with the devastating news. The body in the Belvedere Hotel had been identified as Rey. Don't you think it's weird, though, when a family member has been confirmed as deceased, that they would be called down to the station and not come to their home and say, we need to talk to you? Like, call
Usually
them to the station.
Usually they go to the house.
I think that's cold as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you'd rock up. Like, it would be awful seeing the police knock at your door or seeing them park out the front and come up the door. But it's
when you
worse
go
when they
into the
ring you and say,
station,
hey, come down.
you're like, oh, what's happening? Is there? You'd think he was alive or something. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's rotten that they did that. Anyway, so, and it's not like they were there to identify the body because that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that.
Oh.
So detectives on the case tell of finding Ray's body. At that point, he had been missing for 8 days and he was in advanced stages of decomposition, meaning that the evidence that may have been there was mostly destroyed. Ray's
8 days doesn't seem long enough for that to happen either, does it?
I think in a closed room. So remember, it was a room that they used for storage that no one really went in. So 8 days with not a lot of air.
Yeah.
You know, the injuries. Anyway, what they're saying is that it was enough that the decomposition was so bad. Ray's autopsy was a brutal reading. Multiple rib fractures, punctured lungs, lacerations inches long, broken bones in several places, protruding bones. The extent of the injuries indicate that he would have had to come from a great height when he went through the hole.
Yeah.
If he went through the hole. A detective describes the scene as him having to come through the hole like a projectile. But where and how?
And why were his thongs next to the hole?
Exactly. The first theory was that he jumped, fell, or was pushed off the very, very top roof of the Belvedere, going through the lower roof, which was 11 stories below. The hole was quite a distance from the top of the roof. Even to attempt a running jump to get to the hole, even being tall and fit, it would have been impossible to make it that far jumping or being pushed. So it's like this huge hotel. There's this hole over here. And if you think of like how far you would have to jump, long jumping, even if you were like massively athletic,
to make it that
the
far.
distance was too far. Allison was again baffled at why he would have been on the top of the hotel, because that was the first theory. Like, he's on the top, he's jumped, someone's pushed him, that's happened. And she goes there and she's like, he was scared of heights. She was scared of heights. So she makes her dad come up with her onto the hotel roof. And she's again still baffled how at this height, her husband, who was terrified of heights,
would have even
and
been
the
there.
visual location of where the hole is, no one could make that jump from that level. It's impossible. And the roof of the Belvedere is like, there's air conditioning units, there's like shit everywhere. It's a maze of, you know, contraptions and things like that. It's not like you
couldn't do a straight
run from one side and run far and propel yourself.
Yeah.
It wasn't that far. The second theory was that Ray jumped from the top of the parking garage where the work guys were there and they could see the hole from the very first time. The height of that roof was only 20 feet, so not very far. It was only like an extra story, a story or two.
So you're not going to pierce metal. It
was likely someone would also survive a fall from a jump of that height. But again, the distance from the hole from the closest jump point would have been impossible. So it was just above, and even if you were running, there's no way you could get into that like location. If you think of like angles and algebra, maths and shit, no way.
Pythagoras theorem states.
But you also wouldn't have gone through metal.
Yes.
And your body wouldn't have been brutalized to that extent. You probably would have broke your legs, and just maybe been paralyzed, but you would have stayed on top of the roof.
Yeah.
The third theory was that he came off the 11th floor. So the floor below the roof, right?
Right.
Not quite the roof. There's a ledge that wraps around the building. It's possible he could have come off one of the ledges, but to get to those ledges, you have to go through someone's private property, their home or condo, and all the windows to these properties were half windows, and a lot of them didn't open based on the remodeling of the property. So he would have had to have known someone on the 11th floor, which never came out, or had someone let him have access to get in. But even then, it's still similar to the roof jump. It's very far, and the likelihood of him to go through the roof at that level in that area is still a massive leap.
And also, why?
Yes. And also, if he did do that, If he managed to get one of those windows open, those half windows that were mostly all closed, the ledge outside there was so fine and ornate and antique, a cat would have had trouble getting around. It was like a lip, a tiny little lip around. So if he'd gotten to the window and managed to jump, he would have had no run. There was nothing, and he would have been hanging on by his fingertips to a window or something. Like he would have not even. He wouldn't have been able to put his shoe on the ledge. Like there's no way. He would have been holding to the edge and maybe got his toes on there. Like
he would have fallen straight down.
Fallen straight down. Exactly. There's no way he could have propelled that distance to get out that far. Right?
God, you love this day. You love this case.
I know. To this date, no theory has been able to determine how or which part of the building he came off, which I just think is insane.
It's weird. Yeah.
Think that people just don't care enough to be like, there's no way that dude ended up in that hole. There's no way.
It's like he stood next to the hole, stood out of his shoes, a crane picked him up fucking 100 feet and then just dropped him.
Well, we'll get to our individual theories after we get through it all, because I want to hear your thoughts after we get through it all. Because I have some theories, but then they're very loose and they're not accurate at all. So during the investigation around the hole on the rooftop, police found his cell phone in total working order with no cracks in the screen.
Where was the phone?
So there's the hole, there's his thongs,
there's
a phone. Yeah. Wow. No cracks. Perfect working order. Turn it on, works. No dramas, no cracks on the screen, nothing, right? His eyeglasses, so his glasses, were also near the phone without a scratch, not damaged in any way, right? His injuries were severe and fatal, and I described all the injuries that happened to his body, but his cell phone and glasses were in working condition. His thongs or flip-flops were also laying nearby. One broke, another badly scuffed. So one's got no, like, you know, where the toe bits is, they're completely broken. It's just hanging on by that bit that goes between your toe. The other one's all super scuffed at the front. But yet the phone and the glasses, no problems, completely fine.
How weird.
Oh, it gets weirder. What was never recovered, despite Alison's desperate search of the car and the surrounds of the Belvedere, was an engraved money clip she gave to him as a gift on their wedding day. She claims, as well as his brother claims, he never went anywhere without it. She gave it to him on their wedding day. He always had his money. It was his signature piece. He always used to show it around. My wife gave me this. Look how beautiful it is. They never found it. Investigations persisted. Considering the severity of Rey's injuries, his hurried disappearance that someone would have seen or heard, his hurried disappearance from the house, it's instigated that someone would have seen or heard something. Detectives wandered the hotel excessively, spoke to residents, people in the lobby, neighbors. No one reports seeing Rey Rivera at or near the Belvedere Hotel. It's a busy, bustling neighborhood. People are on the streets until 4 a.m, constantly. There's foot traffic everywhere. The hotel is covered in windows and no one heard or saw anything. Rey's brother Angel attempted to enter the upper levels of the Belvedere as a civilian. He was stopped by multiple employees. Even when he made it through, when he spoke to them about why he was there, they took him in the back, and the stairwells are like a rabbit warren. Like you couldn't just manage to get through all the employees because it was a private residence. It wasn't a hotel anymore. You couldn't just get in there and walk in without a key fob or anything or some sort of identifying factor. And even if you did, you get into the back, and the stairwells to get up to the roof or the high levels are all over the place. There's no coordination. All the doors are locked. Like you would have really had to know the hotel intimately to be able to ever make it to the top if you weren't a resident. Detectives checked the footage of the hotel's cameras, and Rey could not be seen anywhere. The front door, the lobby, or the entryways, never been seen. The camera on the rooftop was not working. It was disconnected. No one has ever confirmed that he was seen or seen near the building. Next, the authorities determined that Ray had jumped, and the paper began to run the story on the advice of police that his death was the result of a suicide. Bullshit. Ray had just got married. He had no history of mental illness or depression. He wasn't seen at the fucking hotel. He ran from the house in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Okay. So Alice's next approach was to request an appointment to speak with the medical examiner. She had a whole list of questions about how Ray died that she wanted an expert to answer. I would have done the same fucking thing. I would have pushed through any door. I would have been like ringing them off the hook until they finally agreed to meet with me. Alison states that she met with the medical examiner, that the medical examiner closed the door and said, "I know what they are trying to do, and we are not closing this case." She said, the medical examiner, what wasn't consistent with the fall was the way his shins were broken, and that's all she would say. The report stated that it was inconsistent. The medical examiner stated that his death was undetermined, which means there's not enough evidence to sway either way. At this point, before she'd met with the medical examiner, the police were openly saying he's killed himself, it's suicide.
We don't want to look into it too hard.
We're done. We're moving on. We've spent a lot of resources, blah, 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 blah. But
we've seen this shit so many times before.
But the medical examiner refused to rule that it was a suicide. She said there's too many inconsistencies. We're just going to say undetermined, right? Which that just makes me so mad.
Well, it's good that she's not ruling it out as a suicide where they can just go, job done, no bitch.
But like, I think a case like this would haunt me. If I was a police officer and this was my job, I don't think it'd be the one that you die on. Do you know what I mean? Like you just always are investigating in your spare time, trying to just go over the evidence again and again and again and trying to find a way to make it
come down
make
to the
sense.
Character of the copper, I guess.
What came next was the note. Folded tightly and taped at the back of his computer in the home was this note. Alison knows that the note was written the day he went missing, as there were scraps in the bin next to his desk that like contributed from being ripped off the same pad and little scribbles that related to that note, but not because there were straps in the bin next to his desk. It talked in riddles about celebrities and stonemasons, people he knew, people he didn't know, movies. Authorities claim it was the most unusual note. Alison recognizes most of the content in the note, but not the weird format in which it was written or the context of what the message was.
What do you mean the weird format?
Because it was all over the place. It was like riddles. It was like a riddle after a riddle after a riddle after a riddle. But it talked about famous movies and celebrities and secret societies and all these things, but not written in any type of like way that you could interpret what it was. It was just a mess of jargon, basically. So Alison recognizes most of the content in the note. So when he's referring to certain movies and people, but she's like, he mentioned heaps of people that we knew, but heaps of people that we know who are really close to us weren't mentioned in it. And it was just all over the place. So she recognizes the contents in it, but not the weird format or in which it was written or the context of what the message was. He was curious about secret societies and was always wanting to write a screenplay about that. Experts believe it was written in code. One line says, "That was a well-played game. Congratulations to all who participated." I think that's really creepy. Like, and in the show, they have like a voiceover that says it like very calmly, and it gives me shivers every time I hear it.
I can imagine,
Police sent the note to the FBI. They cleared it as unusual, but definitely not a suicide note. So the police were trying to write it off as a suicide note as well. But the FBI was like, this isn't a suicide note. It's weird and creepy and we don't know what it's about. We can't explain it, but it's definitely not a suicide note.
Meaning and has a definitive and an apology. Yeah.
Exactly. It has more context about it, but this didn't. It was just all this jargon, but it was like taped up. They show you on the documentary where it was in the back of the computer, like it was folded really small and taped up.
So do you think it was him?
It was in his writing. She says it definitely was him, but I think it's some sort of code. Like he was trying to say something, but maybe in too much of a code that people will never be able to decipher.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's one person out there who knows what it is and has deciphered it and won't come forward.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. Ray's disappearance seemed to happen in a hurry. Ray was in a rush to get out of the house in response to a phone call. The police traced the call. Where do you think it came from?
Peter fucking Stuyvesant or whatever his name is.
Porter fucking Stansbury.
Porter fucking Stansbury.
The offices of Stansbury and Associates. Yes, Ray's workplace, and where his boss and best mate, Porter fucking Stansbury, also worked.
Yeah.
So that call that made him push off from his desk, run downstairs, jump into his car while he had someone staying in his house, not say bye, I've got to go out, I've got a work thing, or I've got to go meet someone, or
it's
any type
I'm
of anything. He didn't say a word to her, even though she was in the next room. He just ran from the house. The call is traced to the offices of Porter and Stansbury. Authorities claim that there was no way to determine who the call came from because it came from the company's switchboard.
Which I get, yeah.
The moment Ray's body was found and detectives began to make inquiries with Stansbury and Associates, they put a gag order on all of their employees and prevented them from speaking to police at all.
Well, the company did.
His best mate owns the company. How
are they able to put a gag order when it comes to police doing investigations?
They were super wealthy. He ran like a massive association of like investments and money and stuff like that. So like, what the fuck and how is that legal is what I've said in my notes.
Totally.
This is the part that frustrates and infuriates me so fucking much. His work friends who helped search for him. So they were out walking the streets because they were like, we love him. He's our mate. Like, we want to help find him. Like, they're out there like searching, like and you see them like, they're in jeans and a t-shirt. They're like out walking the streets and stuff like that. They were the ones who found the hole and saw the thongs and the flip-flops first up. They're not allowed to say a word. People on the switch are not allowed to say a word. No one's allowed to say a word. So and the detectives in the show, the ones who were on the case are interviewed, like the actual detectives who were involved.
Yeah.
And they're basically saying that at this point, they would need grand jury subpoenas and hard evidence to make them testify. Jesus. So basically they've come out, they said, they work for us. If you've got evidence that says anything, talk to our lawyers. But if you've got no evidence, then our employees won't talk to you. And that was his best mate. I know.
Yeah. Porter fucking Stansbury, please.
I know. So they were friends most of their lives. They had known each other since they were 15. They went to prom together with their dates. There's photos of them together at 15 going to prom with like both of them sitting together with their separate dates. The couple moved to Baltimore to help him because he needed them, because Ray was such a great writer. And then he wanted to do this financial newsletter for him. And the reason that he did it was because they had to clean up their image because they'd done a few bad investments and they were up on fraud charges and they were being investigated by the government. So Porter rang and said, it's not working out for you in California. Come to Baltimore. I'm going to give you this great job. You've just got to write really well and clean up our image and write some stuff. And life's going to be great. He offered a $1,000 reward when he first went missing.
The moment I thought you said 100,000.
No, $1,000. $1,000. And then
it's not even a week's salary.
The moment they find out that, so within hours, so the body was found within hours, the detectives ring them and be like, hey, so we think there's a call coming from the office. Can you tell us about that? Done. No one can speak to them.
Yeah.
So the people he sat next to at lunchtime, the people he, hung out with all the time during the week when he was in the office, who
went for coffee
would have
with,
known him really well, might have known something weird was happening in his life, could have given any type of evidence, they were not allowed to speak. Fucking hate that guy. Allison maintains that 2 weeks before his disappearance, something was bothering him. He was scared of something, and this was validated by the house alarms going off, which I talked about in the beginning. This man came across something he shouldn't have. And, you know, he was a nice, young, happily married man, and he was murdered for it.
Yeah.
Even the detectives involved told Alison to be careful after everything that happened because they believed something dark had occurred.
Wow.
And they were worried that something might happen to her because she was so
Yeah,
vocal.
yeah. If she keeps putting her nose in places it shouldn't be, that's what they would be thinking. Yeah.
They were trying to protect her because there was heaps of detectives who were like trying to dig through it all and were like dedicated to the case, but it dried up because they couldn't question anyone. And his car was found near the offices in the same neighborhood.
I just still don't get how the police didn't have authority to question people unless they had a grand jury subpoena.
Because they had said there's no evidence, you cannot question our staff.
But there is evidence. There was a call from him that he ran out the house.
Absolutely. And the detective who was trying to question them, he said, look, I'm just a homicide detective. I don't have the power to be able to go against a company like this. If they say that we have to go through their lawyers, we went through their lawyers and their lawyers said no comment. So unless they had something specific, unless they said, I want to interview John Smith.
So they've used all their money with their legal fight, and that's what's kept him at bay.
Yep.
Cunts.
Oh, it makes me so mad. And like, so the Insta account that's called hashtag Porter fucking Stansbury is been dead for about a year. Like, people don't really comment and they don't post anything anymore. Yeah. I'm like, I want to revive it, man. When did this happen?
What year?
Oh, hang on. I think it was 2000. Oh, it was a long time ago. Hang on. 2006, but
that's not too long ago.
No, the Instagram account came out because of the show in 2020.
Right.
So people have watched the Unsolved Mysteries and started Porter fucking
the
Stansbury.
Internet detectives. Yeah.
But if you look him up, if you look up Porter Stansbury, he has an Instagram account that's locked, and it's his face. It's definitely him.
So I was wondering when you were saying, is that the story?
Well, I have some theories, but I want to hear. Hang on. Are we done? Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure that's it.
So I've got a couple, and yes.
So I'll just say one thing.
Yes.
The injustice of it makes me so mad and sad. What do you think? I have two theories, but I want to hear your theories first.
Okay, so I've got a couple of theories as well. One is you're going to be just like, oh, you stupid bitch. One is that there was a gay relationship between Porter fucking Stansbury and what's his face, and he's either called him and said to him, basically, you need to be here, otherwise I'm telling your wife everything that's happened. Rah, rah, rah. He's freaked out. That's why he's ran. Yada, yada, yada.
Hold on. There's flaws in the story because how did he go through the roof at such...
Oh, well, I haven't gotten to how he went through the roof or anything. Like,
no,
maybe
your
that's
theory
why
has to incorporate that.
Okay, so, well, I mean, the how he went through the roof could be the end of any theory, really. So you got the theories of what made him run out the house and get out there and go to where he was going. The theory of how him going through the roof, the only thing I can think of is that they took him up in a helicopter and just dropped him.
Or somehow they managed to place him. There was already an existence. So I think the airplane, it's not a helicopter because the blades would have been going, right? So you would have seen a helicopter, like all those people on the street, they would have seen something out of normal.
How high it would have been.
Helicopters don't go that high though.
They can.
Yeah, but you still know a helicopter's there in like common ground to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you still know.
But what if it just flew across and they just pushed him out?
Well, surely they would have looked at flight plans too, wouldn't you think? They would have looked at flight plans.
So what's your other theory then?
Well, I think airplane.
But then flight plans.
I think helicopters too low. I think yes, but you're right. It's flight plans, isn't it? It's the same argument. So my two things are that he was thrown from a plane of very, very, very high, like, and it just was complete coincidence that he ended up there. Like,
and that's why they put the things there to just be like,
yes, because then they realized, and then they were like,
yeah.
But then why would you go to the effort of putting that stuff there? Wouldn't you just move on and just dispose it elsewhere? Why come back and put it there?
Yeah. It's weird because they're trying to make it, because it's not like he took off his thongs and just jumped in the air and went down through that hole.
But physics say there's no way he could have jumped off
No.
anything.
Or even like taking his shoes off and just
So
jumped and gone
I
through.
think the most common explanation is that someone put him in there in some way. Somehow they've had access to that shed, like, I mean, that conference room or whatever it was, a storage area, and they've managed to get in at a time when they've either paid people off a lot of money to never, ever speak about it. But still, they had to come through the entrance unless they came down from the roof and
Well,
the cameras were off.
From somewhere.
But why were the cameras off on the roof as well?
But as you said, he couldn't have even jumped from the
No.
roof, and the trajectory wouldn't have got him into
But maybe
the hole.
if multiple people threw him,
Yeah. But even
then maybe,
still,
but still,
would he splat? Was there blood on the roof?
No.
Yeah. That's weird. It's like he was tied to a cement block and dropped.
I feel like if people really, really investigated it, it would be obvious. Like you could draw some real proper conclusions from it. Like if the FBI got involved with all the resources, they would be like, this couldn't have happened, this couldn't happen, this couldn't have happened. Like these are all the things that could never have happened. So therefore, you know, it's foul play, and there's someone out there who's murdered this guy and either brought him in or like pushed him through. Like they couldn't push him through. Like I guess they could have, if it was a known hole, they could have stood there and killed him first and pushed him through.
Yeah, but they'd have to have broken his shins and his legs and his ribs, and
but maybe they fucked him up first. Maybe they fucked him up first, and then they got on the roof and pushed him through the hole
that they've created.
You know, but that's what they're saying. Like he was so decomposed that they wouldn't know if blood was missing or, you know, like.
Yeah.
It keeps me up at night. It actually keeps me up at night.
How the fuck did this happen?
Obsessed I am with this story.
Yeah.
It was foul play. There's no doubt in my mind that something really bad happened to this guy.
It has to be. Like
it just makes me so angry.
His phone and his glasses being placed next to the hole. There is no reason why they should be there. He didn't take them off and then just jump up in the air and go through.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Exactly. And it's metal. Yeah. It's a metal. And you see it in the pictures, how many layers of metal there is. It's not like it's a roof that has like, you know, like when you think of a roof and it's got like, you know, your insulation and shit like that. It's insulation, it's metal, and I'm talking metal bars. Like the structure
and unless
is
they've
like
said to him something like either one about the gay thing, or two, they've said, we've got your wife and we're going to do this to her, and that's why he's freaked out and ran to go save his wife or something. Like, why else would he run there? Like, if they said to him, if he found out something about what they'd done, what would make him leave his house to go run there to stop?
Yes, but he was already on edge, and they'd already had multiple instances where they thought someone was trying to get into their house.
They must have said to him something about
something bad has happened. He knows something.
Had he left before his wife had landed? Because if she was still uncontactable, so I wonder if they've said to him something about the fact we've got your wife, right, and he can't confirm that she's safe, and that's why he's fled.
Yeah, but there's also no phone records of him trying to confirm anything. He's just gone. But if it was his best mate saying, and he knows his best mate's being super dodgy, and he's like, I've got Alison, then maybe he wouldn't even try to call anyone. He would just go.
Or maybe his best mate's been like, hey, you need to come and help me. I've been I'm on ODing, or I'm blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they've got him and just fucking taken him up in a plane or helicopter.
It's like a mob hit, though. It's like they've fucked him up, like, you know, in the way someone would, and then
tortured him to speak. And then
do you see why I'm obsessed with this? Do you see why I'm so obsessed?
It's just fucking whack.
And the police don't give a fuck.
Any sense.
They're just like, okay, he just tried to kill himself, but there's no explanation of how he ever would have done that.
Watch that fucking My Worst Ex. There's so many things what the police do in that where you're just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Why are you arresting this victim?
Yeah.
It's so hardcore.
But in America, like even when you're like, a sheriff or like the boss of police in small towns and stuff like that, they get paid fucking nothing. They get nothing. They get like minimum wage and shit. So, they're bound to have people who don't have the best intelligence, don't have the best motivation.
But they get the respect and the authority around town, and that's what they live off.
But still, I'm just like, this case will haunt me for the rest of my life until I die. Unless it gets solved.
Yeah, I hope they do a little fucking revamp on it.
Well, I mean, that's why they revamped it in
Cold
2020, and everyone just was like, "What the fuck?" And people were just completely just gobsmacked by it, and it became this huge thing. That's why they started that Instagram page, Porter fucking Stansbury, and he's still living his high life. He's like this rich guy, nothing's touched him. Imagine like people just going up to him like, "Hey, watched that documentary about you the other night?
No, you did.
Everybody hates you.
Yeah, and
they
think
you're a murderer." And he'd be like,
they die.
And then he walks out, and then they're dead the next day. They're like, been mugged. We shouldn't laugh.
That's fucking
it's so
crazy.
sad.
That is fucking crazy. No, you did a good job.
Thank you. I hope our listeners agree. I hope you.
They will.
I hope there's a renewed interest in Rey Rivera, and you start like sending hate mail to the Baltimore police. They won't care. Yeah. Porter fucking Stansbury. What a dog.
Cunt. What a CUNT. See you next Tuesday.
Okay, it's your turn. I'm sorry. I've totally taken over that episode.
That was a big one. It was a good one. So mine isn't from, or as far as I know, from the Unsolved Mysteries archive, but it is an unsolved mystery.
I feel like that wasn't the assignment.
Well, I feel like you knew who I was doing as well. Elisa Lam.
Oh, great. No, I was hoping that you were doing it because I love this story so much. I know this one. This is another documentary that I watched obsessively.
So before I go into...
There's two sides. It's two sides of the coin.
Oh, there's about 17. So before I go into the story about Elise, I just want to give a brief run through about the hotel that this unsolved mystery occurred in, please. Because fuck me, talk about one place having a lot of dark history.
I know. Skid Row's right there too, isn't it?
It is in Skid Row. So the Cecil Hotel opened its doors in 1924. Cecil. In 1924, a grand vision by William Banks Hanna. Situated in the heart of Los Angeles, the hotel initially catered to businessmen and tourists, boasting 700 rooms, opulent marble lobbies, stained glass windows, and alabaster statues. However, just 2 years later...
Went into disrepair!
The Great Depression soon turned it into budget accommodation, attracting a transient clientele. The area in LA around the hotel would be dubbed Skid Row. Also, one of my favorite songs from Little Shop of Horrors. Down on Skid Row, poor, all my life I've always been poor. Anyway,
have you ever been there?
No, but I kind of want to get my photo taken out the front of it, but I'm scared I'll also get attacked by a junkie.
Yes, it's very, very scary. Rough. And they say don't go there because you will probably get hurt.
Die. So Skid Row would become home to thousands of homeless people. Poor William. Imagine that. You've got this grand view of opulent hotel, alabaster statues, fucking marble fucking lobbies. Next minute, it's a shithole. This was not my dream. Anyway,
he obviously died or run out of money.
Yeah. The Cecil quickly became infamous for its high number of suicides during the 1930s. Reports detail tragic stories of individuals ending their lives through poison, gunshots, and jumping from the hotel's windows.
Because they say it's haunted.
They do. These incidents marked the beginning of the hotel's dark reputation of violence and death. So one other shocking story
Can I say
from
one
19,
thing?
yes.
I love when you watch the documentary though about the woman who works there, and she's worked there forever, and she talks about all the stories as well, that
So
the
you've
things that
seen their
she's seen. I
Netflix
have
special,
seen it. I
yes.
have was obsessed with it. Thought it was like,
Yeah,
until the end
the
when it
business.
actually what actually happened. I had no idea. I was totally into it, going, "We got to find her, guys, guys. We got to find her. Some ghost has her. It's like a paranormal poltergeist. It's got her." And then I was like,
They're
"Oh."
here.
She
Yeah.
had some mental health issues.
Well, it's still debatable. So,
Mm.
one other shocking story from 1944 was of 19-year-old Dorothy Purcell, who was staying at the Cecil with 38-year-old Ben Levine. She woke in the middle of the night with severe stomach pains. She crept to the bathroom, and to her complete shock, she gave birth to a baby boy. She had no idea she was pregnant. Thinking the baby was dead, she threw the baby out the window onto the roof of the building next door. Side note, she was not found guilty of murder by reason of insanity and was admitted to a hospital for psychiatric treatment. So I'm just going to call bullshit on that. It was 1944. She was with a guy literally twice her age, pregnant, didn't know. I reckon the guy threw the baby out the window and she got pinned for it. And being a
Yeah.
promiscuous young girl, rambling, they just whacked her into a mental hospital because it
Yeah.
was the 40s.
Oh, that poor bitch.
Another weird case in 1962, 65-year-old George Ginnan was
Mm.
walking by the hotel, hands in his pockets, just strolling, and drops dead after he's struck by a falling woman. Pauline had jumped to her death from the ninth floor after an argument with her estranged husband. Again, I call bullshit, and she was totally pushed. The hotel's notoriety grew with its connection to serial killers. So Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, stayed at the Cecil in the mid-80s. Have you seen the Netflix documentary on him?
No, but I remember them talking about the Cecil. I remember them saying in the Cecil
He
that he
was
was
there.
renowned for it. Yeah. So he took some of his victims there or spent a lot of time
He's
there.
spent that, yeah. So if you haven't seen it, watch it because fuck me, that man was one dark and twisted fellow, like proper fucking ick. His joy wasn't in murdering people. His joy came from seeing the fear in their eyes. So it always scare them before he killed them. He'd hide behind a kitchen counter or something like that and jump up and kill them. He had no, you know how serial killers have a type? They kill young blonde women because they remind them of an ex-girlfriend or whatever, someone that reminds them of their mother or
Mm.
something like that. He had no type. Young, old, whatevs. He just wanted bloodshed. But his capture, when they capture him, is one of the most iconic captures of all time as well. And I don't want to say it until you do you want me to tell you?
No,
It's iconic the way that they end up
because there'll be
capturing.
heaps of people who are listening to this who will totally go and watch it because you said so. I
Watch it.
probably won't, but people will, and you don't want to give away the
The
ending.
it's iconic how they end up getting him. Anyways, during his stay, he committed several murders. After a murder, he'd dump his clothes into the Cecil Hotel
That's
dumpsters
right.
and make his way back to his room in his undies or naked without raising any suspicion. It was just the vibe of the hotel place. The quote is in the 80s, the Cecil was, in quotes, total unmitigated chaos.
Ask no questions. Tell no lies.
He also stayed there for $14 a night.
Yeah.
In 1991, Jack Unterweger, an Austrian journalist and serial killer, also stayed at the Cecil, using his time there to target and murder sex workers, strangling them with their own bras. The Cecil corridors have seen numerous unsolved mysteries besides Elisa Lam. In 1964, Pidgey Goldie Osgood, a well-known local, was found raped and murdered in her room. Despite a suspect being arrested, the crime remains officially unsolved, adding to the hotel's lore of untold stories and unanswered questions. Another incredibly famous unsolved case, which is now solved, I believe, or no, I don't know if it's solved. I think they've actually identified who she is, was attached to the Cecil Hotel is that of the Black Dahlia.
Yes.
So she was murdered and mutilated in 1947. You've heard of it, obviously. Her mouth was carved from ear to ear, and her body was cut in two.
Yeah, and she was found in the bushland, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
So despite its grim history,
I'm shocked you haven't done that, actually.
the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, that'd
Well,
be a long one too. It'd be like
and
there's
there's
so
just
many
not so much to
conspiracy
get to.
theories as
It's
well
like
as
the the boy in the box. They finally identified who he was, but they don't know how he got there. Blah
because
blah
they
blah.
do the Black Dahlia in American Horror Story.
Horror Story, yes, in the very first one. Yeah,
I remember.
And they kind of mimic the Cecil Hotel on the Lady Gaga series Hotel.
Oh, okay.
I believe, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the Belvedere Hotel, because that sounded very familiar when you said it. Where
Well, I have heard the Belvedere
shit.
before.
It was like a rich guy had set it up, but there was all these secret corridors and shit.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think the Belvedere also has a really dark history.
Yeah. So
it's hotels, man. That's why Ryan Murphy did it in American Horror Story, because hotels in the US are
loads
fucked.
of material, loads. $14 a night. I gotcha. Despite its grim history, efforts to revitalize the Cecil have been ongoing. In 2011, it was rebranded as the Stay on Main Hotel and Hostel, targeting a younger, budget-conscious crowd.
So inappropriate and misleading.
No, right?
Travelers, please, abroad, come stay with us. It's budget. You'll be fine.
You're safe. It's fine.
You're not near Skid Row. Don't worry about it.
Chill out. Have a barbecue. Currently, the hotel is undergoing a $100 million renovation to become a mix of hotel rooms and micro apartments.
Oh, please.
Hoping to shed its haunted image. It's never going to shed it. Okay, so now we've set the scene of what kind of venue we are dealing with. Let's move on to the 2013 disappearance of Elisa Lam, which drew international attention.
Oh, and like obsessive people who were obsessed with solving the case. Like it became an internet phenomenon.
I was semi-obsessed with it, not with solving it, but just like, oh my God. So
I didn't know about it until the Netflix series. It was a Netflix that brought it out. Yeah. I think I had heard about her. Wow. But it wasn't, and then I can't even remember because like I very rarely watch documentaries, you know that, and for whatever reason I did put it on. I think it was in the media or whatever, and people were talking about, but I had no idea how it was going to end either.
Wow!
And when I watched it, I said, it was a few moments where I was like, I feel like there's something in my subconscious that knows a little bit, and then when it happened, I was like, oh, this is the one that
tapping
I knew
into
about.
Stuff.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is how it ended.
I know. Let me just grab my wine. I
need another beer.
All right. So my next note is, do you remember when this happened? No. I do, vividly.
I don't remember, but I have seen the documentary. So I do. I was swept up in the hype of it all and was, you know.
So I remember.
I was almost started to join the conspiracy theory groups. Link and I actually watched it together, and Link was like, Mom, what is happening?
Well, see, I think this is on the same. I mean, your one is very bizarre. I think this also has some sort of same level of, come on, guys. Anyway.
Well, I have a different take on it. Some research that I've done, but yes, I'll wait till the end to comment on it. If you bring it up, the stuff that I know.
So I remember it vividly, obviously because of the hotel's history. It got lots of media attention. And of course, because of the security video they have of her in the hotel. I remember when that got released. So it was huge. And then, of course, you know, but I won't give any spoilers away to the story. So as per one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs, dun, 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 are you ready for it? Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada. Go Canucks, go.
Just a little baby girl.
Who embarked on a solo trip to California in early 2013.
Despite her parents' reservations, plus.
They were. Described as an adventurous, vibrant, and friendly young woman. Elisa, Elisa,
I think it's Elisa.
often blogged about her travels and experiences. Her journey brought her to Los Angeles, where she checked into the Cecil Hotel on the 26th of January, 2013.
Pardon moi. She checked into the, what was it? What was the other thing they called it?
Cecil Hotel.
No, when they rebranded it for
Ah,
tourists.
hang on.
She checked into the something
Stay
on
on
Main.
Main.
Stay on Main. She
Yeah.
didn't check into the Cecil. She checked into the Stay on Main, the
Main.
rebranded hotel that was projected to be safe and in a great area, perfect for young people traveling.
Down on Skid Row.
Nothing to do with the Cecil in any way.
On the 26th of January 2013, hashtag Australia Day.
Sorry.
You dumb
Wasn't
bitch.
paying attention.
Elisa initially stayed in a shared room, but she was
Yes.
moved to a private room due to complaints from her roommates about her odd behavior. Apparently, she would leave cryptic notes in the room for her roommates, and she would also lock them out from the inside and ask them for a password before they could enter.
Should have left that till the end.
On the 31st of January, the day she was supposed to check out of the hotel, Elisa went missing. Her parents, who were in constant contact with her, became alarmed when they couldn't reach her and reported her missing to the Los Angeles Police Department, aka the motherfucking LAPD. The LAPD's investigation into Elisa's disappearance.
Let's have a kiki. Fuck a kiki. Lock the door tight. Let's have a kiki.
Hunty. Baka.
I'm gonna let you have it.
Have it. Let's have a kiki. I want to have a kiki.
Lock the doors tight.
Side, turn,
Anywho.
swerve, and heel. The LAPD's investigation into Elisa's disappearance included extensive searches of the hotel.
Mm.
Initially, the search yielded no results. However, on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, the police released one of the most perplexing pieces of evidence in the case: elevator surveillance footage. The footage shows Elisa behaving erratically. She steps in and out of the elevator, she pushes multiple buttons, and appears to be hiding or speaking to someone off camera. The video quickly goes viral, sparking widespread speculation and conspiracy theories about what might have happened to her. There's also a special on this case on Netflix too, which is pretty interesting. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
It's called, for the listeners at home, Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel.
But do you know what? Like, I have to say, the fact that we can't show the video on this podcast is insane, because that is the thing that really gets you. That is a disturbing video.
Moment.
It is incredibly like confronting, where you're like, what is happening to this poor girl? Something is going on. And you definitely think
someone's there.
Yeah.
Or something's there.
I think you definitely think something's there. Not someone, something is there.
Agreed. And if you watch the video, when they display it, when they release it too, for some reason, the timestamp is blurred out on it.
Yes.
Which is really weird. And it's like, is it going forward? Is it going backward?
Is something fucking with it? Is someone in there like messing with the timestamp and making it be erratic?
And there's something about the Cecil Hotel didn't release all the stuff, or weren't being very cooperative as well. It's very weird. So the case then took a bizarre turn when on the 19th, an even more bizarre turn, when on the 19th of February, so this is 5 days after they've released the video footage, guests at the hotel began complaining about low water pressure and an unusual taste and black color in the water. In response to the complaints, a maintenance worker checks the hotel water tanks on the roofs, and that's when they discover Elisa's body is in one of the tanks. The poor thing. It's just so fucking weird. Her body was moderately decomposed and bloated. Could you imagine finding out that you'd been drinking water that had a human's corpse in it?
There's actual people who are like making statements on the documentary about how they were drinking the water or showering in the water and were like, what is this gunk that's coming out?
in it.
Or I had a mouthful and something came into my mouth, or I went to brush my teeth and there was
There
something
was a
on my
foul taste in it,
toothbrush.
and it's a black coloring in
Yeah.
it.
Like there's heaps of people who say that they actually ingested the water in some way.
Totally. And could you imagine? You would never be right after that. Anytime you drank any water that had some foul, pungent taste to it or
That's
something, you'd just be
PTSD
like,
shit. That's something that you will go and home and just be like, I'm not the same person anymore.
I need a lot of recovery.
Start developing like, eye twitches,
100%. Yeah.
Start having to make sure that you're wearing gloves when
You
you're
would
touching
only drink
shit.
bottled water after that, wouldn't you? It's rotten. Elise was found naked. She had clothing that was similar to what she was wearing in the video, was found floating in the water and coated with a sand-like particulate, which is weird. Her watch and her room key were also found with her. So I'm guessing floating in the water or with her clothes. So I wonder if she was
been there for a few days, hadn't she?
Yeah, she'd been there for fucking ages. So she went miss. Oh, pardon me. She went missing on Australia Day, was it? On 31st. She was meant to check out, and they found her on the 19th of Feb. So yeah, she'd been there. She was bloated and decomposing in the water. Ugh. So they found her. They found her clothes floating on the water. So I'm imagining if she was in the water tank, she was trying to fucking tread water. Her clothes are dragging her down. She's taking her clothes off. I'm assuming. I think her shoes were also found neatly placed on the water tank next to the hole.
Like she went in there willingly.
But also like your man's shoes. Were they willing or were they just The discovery raised numerous questions, as accessing the roof and the water tanks required navigating through secured areas of the hotel.
Yes.
The autopsy report released on the 21st of February indicated that Elisa's death was accidental due to drowning, with her bipolar disease listed as a significant factor. No evidence of physical trauma, sexual assault, or drugs were found in her system, although there were traces of her prescription medicine. A lot of the evidence, I feel, though, would have been affected by the water. Too, because there's so many true crime things we see where people are thrown in the river and they can't get anything from it because the water's fucking taken it away.
But also, wasn't it another case where the cameras were off or the cameras weren't working and the cameras were there, but they hadn't been paying to keep it up?
That night, the alarms weren't operational, all this shit, as they say.
Yeah.
As they say. So because you could imagine as well, if they're going through this whole rebranding to try and make their hotel stay on Main, they don't want anything. If a security guard or someone was involved in fucking doing it, they don't want this getting out there.
But she got out there somewhere, and that's on them, right? Like that's 100% on them, because it should have been a secured area because it's a danger, it's health and safety. But Australia has very strict rules about things like that.
Well, and look, I have gone walking around New Zealand even 10 years ago, and where they've been doing roadworks and shit like that, just going, this is not safe. Why am I walking here? So people in different countries do have different sort of regulations.
Absolutely. And we're not a country of people who make a court case on anything, but we have very, very conservative laws about if someone is hurt on your premises and you didn't do due diligence and they got into somewhere that they shouldn't, then you are culpable.
You are in trouble
in that. That's manslaughter at best, and then you're fucked because insurance wise, people are gonna
what do they call that insurance? That one where public liability.
Public liability. We have public liability. Are we like one of the only countries that have that, maybe?
I'm not sure, but I'm glad we have it. Because I don't own a business that I could get in trouble with
first.
So while the investigation determined that Elisa died from accidental drowning, it never fully explained how she accessed the roof and got into the water tank. The hotel's roof was supposed to be secure, with locked doors and alarms triggered by unauthorized access. Yet, a scent trail dog a scent trail from police dogs was lost near a window leading to the fire escape.
That's right.
Suggesting
yes.
that Elisa may have bypassed security measures to get out the window. But why wasn't the window alarmed near a fire escape?
And also to make her way up there, like,
Yeah.
would have required some real focus about, hey, I want to get up on the roof and get myself into a water tank.
And she was of slight build. You know, she wasn't fucking a wrestler.
She was a tiny little thing.
Yeah. So a video uploaded after her death revealed that the roof was indeed accessible via the fire escape, and some of the water tank lids were found open. This raised questions about whether the security at the hotel was tight as reported, and if Elisa was able to access the roof without staff intervention. The water tanks on the Cecil's roof were large, heavy, and elevated on concrete blocks, making them difficult to access. There was no fixed ladder leading to the tanks, meaning hotel workers needed portable ladders to check the water levels. The tank lids were cumbersome, and it would have been challenging for someone of Alyssa's stature to lift and close them from the inside. However, the hotel employee who discovered her body reported that the tank lid was open when he found her, which suggests she entered the tank herself, but was unable to close the lid afterwards. Not sure why she would want to anyway. This detail fuels the debate over how Elisa could have managed to enter the tank on her own, given the physical challenges involved. The infamous elevator video showed Elisa behaving strangely, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and gesturing as if speaking to someone off camera. The video sparked widespread theories, including the possibility that she was under the influence of drugs. But it's also weird because I remember the video, there's something where she pushes it. As I said, the timestamp's blurred out and you don't know if
she's
it's cutting
talking to someone.
from.
You see her mouth moving
And
as
she's
well.
looking from one side to the other and all this shit.
Yeah. And she's clearly like agitated.
She's very distressed, yeah. Although her toxicology report showed no evidence of illicit drugs.
And the other thing is she's trying to close the doors and the doors keep sort of semi-closed and open and semi-closed and open and semi-closed
she's pushing
and open.
all the buttons.
Yeah, and she's trying to like make sure that she's safe. And then she ends up getting back out, doesn't she? She's talking to someone and then she gets out. Oh, I'm getting shivers actually. It's very ghost shit.
The elevator doesn't move. Yeah, it doesn't go down. The doors don't shut and she goes down. She's banging on this shit and she's fucking sticking her head out and looking left and right. Yeah, it's full on. So although her toxicology report showed no evidence of illicit drugs, some theorists argue that certain substances might have broken down during the time her body was submerged and decomposing in the water tank, or that she could have taken drugs that were not detected in a standard screening.
Potentially.
Others point to the low levels of her prescription medications in her system, suggesting she may have been under-medicating, which could have triggered a psychotic episode due to her bipolar disorder. The autopsy report, while concluding that Elisa's death was accidental, left several key questions unanswered. Notably, it did not include the results of the rape kit or fingernail kit, nor did it clarify whether these tests were even processed. Again, as a hiding something. The report also mentioned subcutaneous pooling of blood in her anal area, which some speculated could indicate sexual assault. However, experts suggested this also could result from the natural decomposition process, which sometimes causes bloating and other changes in the body. These uncertainties have led to continued speculation about the true nature of Elisa's death. Was it a tragic accident exacerbated by her mental health struggles, or is there more to the story than the official reports suggest? Adding to the enigma, Elisa's Tumblr blog continued to post updates after her death. While this could be explained through the platform's queue feature, so just like we do when I do my Instagram posts,
future stuff,
which allow scheduled posts, the fact that her phone was never recovered raises further questions. Could someone have had access to a phone Or was it a case of scheduled posts continuing to go live?
That's easy to verify, though. Like
That's
people,
what I
any
thought.
IT person could verify
You'd be able to
that.
see if our posts were scheduled or not.
100%.
And why would she schedule her own blog posts about her travels in the future? Do you
Mm,
know what I mean? Why would you
mm,
talk about something in the future when you haven't been there or
mm,
something could
mm.
change about your experience? The possibility of a third party's involvement remains a topic of speculation. The mysterious circumstances surrounding Elisa's death led to numerous theories. Some speculated she was murdered, possibly by a hotel employee or another guest.
Or a ghost.
Others believe she experienced a psychotic episode related to her bipolar disorder, causing her to climb into the tank herself. There were also more outlandish theories involving the paranormal,
Mm,
given the Cecil Hotel's notorious history.
mm,
The Cecil Hotel's dark past only fueled the intrigue of Elisa's case, known for its connection to suicides, murders, and serial killers, as previously mentioned. Please.
mm-hmm.
The hotel's history added an eerie layer to the mystery. Some theorists suggest that the hotel's sinister aura could have influenced Elisa's action or that
Mm,
she encountered something supernatural.
mm.
Elisa's death had a significant impact, leading to a wrongful death lawsuit filed by her parents against the hotel.
Did they win and get
They
heaps of
claimed
money?
they claimed the hotel should have secured the water tanks to prevent such an
100%.
incident. The case
Completely
also
agree.
sparked discussions about treatment of mental illness, the
Yes.
importance of ensuring safety in public accommodations, and the ethics of sharing distressing footage online. I don't know if the parents won anything, to be fair,
I
but
hope they
yes,
did because it was totally negligent of the hotel,
hotel.
without a doubt.
And the fact that there was things that the hotel was being uncooperative about, that's what raises more
Yes, they were
suspicions to
very
me.
uncooperative. I remember that and part of the documentary. I remember when I watched it until so and that's why I said to you when you were talking about the roommates asking her to be like kicked out of the room, they left that till the end of the documentary. So up until the point that I found out about her mental illness at the end, and I'm totally not saying that I think that that's part of
Yeah.
it. I was 100% convinced that it was supernatural based
Well,
on
see,
everything that I had seen. And then when they said about how like she was locking them out of the rooms and talking to herself and leaving them notes and stuff like that, then I was like, oh, that's a little bit like, maybe she did was a little bit erratic in her behavior. So
yeah,
maybe that could explain why she went up on the roof and did what she did. However, the
no
hotel
note.
was absolutely negligent in 100% of the way, and they should have protected the people who were staying there. But I don't know. It's very
I just
off,
don't,
isn't
yeah,
it?
I just don't look, and I'm no expert with mental health, but I just feel that to climb out a window, to go up there, to go up into a fucking water tank, to jump in there, all that stuff, it just seems a bit weird.
Mm,
She'd never done anything like that before.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like that maybe someone from the hotel had fucking potentially damaged her,
yeah,
abused
yeah.
her. I
But
don't
I
know.
think ultimately, like at the end of the day, someone needs to figure it out.
Can you please not leave us with unsolved mysteries after 10 years?
But
Give us
also
10
just be
years
like,
to
you know what?
speculate shit, and
Like,
then
let's
after that time, figure it out for us.
investigate till the end. Let's make
Yeah.
sure that we have every lick of evidence and no one's withholding. And if they do, they get in trouble for it.
Where's her phone? We can
Yeah,
do pings, can't we?
yeah. Also, why was she able to access anything from the window? And
Yeah.
even if she did it like on her own, like that's a risk, you
The whole
know?
thing of her slapping the. I get people can be paranoid and all that shit, but like the fact, as you said, the doors closing, opening, and her not being the elevator not moving, it
Yeah.
was just weird.
Yeah. So I remember because I watched it with Link, my son, and he was like, Mum, there is 100% a ghost. Like, I think he made me watch it. I think he had seen clips of it on Netflix when it first came out. And he was like, Mum, you got to watch it with me because it looks like super scary. And he was only young, like I can't remember when it came out. When did it come out on Netflix? Do you know?
Or hang on, I'll just close my notes. I think it's. I don't think it was too long ago. Maybe 2020.
No, it was longer than that.
2019. Hang on. What's it? What did I say? Netflix Cecil Hotel. Okay. 2021.
Is that the first time it came out?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that was only like 3 years ago. So I think would have been like 15.
Yeah. That's still the age where you're into that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like he made me watch it. I know that much. And he was like totally like traumatized by that whole lift thing. He was like, Mum, something
I
is
remember
wrong.
watching that in 2013 when it happened, just going like, what the fuck? Yeah. I agree. Something was wrong. I don't think it was her willingly climbing out up the wet stairwell, going up into a water tank. She didn't go for a bath.
Yeah.
If she went to kill herself, why'd she take her clothes off?
Yeah. 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 It's hard to say, isn't it? It's very sad. It's very sad.
But I want to know the actual reality about it.
I want to know what happened to Rey Rivera. Okay.
Also, both.
I'll say on my deathbed.
Both weird people.
Tell me what happened to Rey Rivera.
People with shoes found next to a hole and their bodies unexplainably in there.
I tell you, if I ever come into money, I will be dedicated to this fucking case.
Well, dear
I'm obsessed
listeners,
with it.
make us rich and we'll do a whole podcast season investigating Rey Rivera and Elisa Lam.
True crime. Put all the resources that we make from this podcast into investigating unsolved crimes.
Yes, imagine.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Also, we would need some real good resources. Like,
oh no, we'll just make this shit up.
No, we just need to, like, if I had my life again, I would be a private investigator.
Do you know, I always wanted to be a forensics investigator when I was a
So
child.
did I in high school.
Yeah,
I was
me
obsessed
too.
with it.
Yeah.
But you had to be too smart.
I did a TAFE course that would have got my OP into it, but then I just got stoned instead.
Party too hard. Met me.
all bets are off.
I know the world's your oyster when you're fucking 18.
I know. And I remember at 20
now we're nearly 50.
Well, I remember at 20 something thinking, I'd love to do psychology, but if I did that part time, that's 6 years.
Yeah. Link says it to me all the time. He's like, I don't want to do an apprenticeship because it's 4 years of me getting no money. And I was like, son, 4 years will fly.
And it's
in a minute. You'll close your eyes and you'll be 24.
To the whole fucking scheme of things. It's
23 he would be. 22 he would be if he did it right now.
And then you've still got another 50 years of work ahead of you.
Yeah.
You don't realize.
I'm always like, listen to me. Sometimes you listen to me. This is me telling you, these are the things that you need to do.
Do you know?
It's like, whatever.
I had a guy when I worked in the senator's office, and then there would be some constituents call in just to chat. And I spoke to a 90-year-old, and he said to me, just keep moving, because when you stop moving, your body seizes. He'd seen it all at that point. He's dead and long gone now. And also, listen to advice. People have been there before you.
It's like the sunscreen song. But do you know what my favorite quote is youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is the best thing ever because it's so true. Like young people think that it's like forever away. And it's like, yeah, we used to be super young and we used to be like, oh my God.
But now I think
one day I'll do that. Well, I don't really have one day left anymore.
Yeah, that time's running out. But
I'm
the youth is wasted
century.
on the young. I know what you're saying with that too, but I also think if we had our youth from 50 onwards, we've learnt too much. We've known too much where we wouldn't have that whole free radical reign of just doing whatever. That's what youth is. That radicalness of just fucking no fear, doing this, being absolutely fucking irresponsible. You wouldn't do that if you were 50.
Yeah, that's totally true. But when we were young, were we confident people? Did we
No.
no,
Yes.
we
I would
weren't
love to have
like,
this confidence
yes,
back
we
then.
weren't like, hey, yeah, tomorrow's another day. It's not going to
Don't worry
matter.
about what the fuck they think.
Yes, I'm not going to listen to what everyone tells
Yeah.
me. You totally like, yeah,
Trust
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Have
You know,
faith in yourself.
you're in your
Yeah.
20s, like going,
Yeah.
who am I? Who am I? Who am
Agreed.
I?
Why are they looking at me like that? They don't like me. No, I agree with that.
Well, that, my friends, wraps up our episode 2
97.
97 of season 9, almost 100, even though it's not going to happen until October and we're not even anywhere. We're in August right now.
Recording. But we'll record the 100th episode right before it gets released.
Yes.
Real time, people.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, please tell your friends. We beg you.
We're back, yeah. But no, that was a great episode. That was some really good, gutsy, nutsy,
Yeah.
unsolved mysteries.
Hardcore 4:30 in the morning researching.
Exactly. And tune
Putting the
in
notes
next
together.
week for our true crime again. Anyway, sugar bitches, it was a pleasure to dine with you once again.
And drink with you. I hope you're drinking with us at home.
Always. Good night, sugar bitches.
Good
Until next
night.
week. Good night. Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.